Birch, we've added you in to let you know that you're fired because you didn't pick up the first time.
Okay.
Just the saddest. All right, I understand.
Tall hot friend is out.
You have been voted off the island.
You are the weakest link. Goodbye. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Feed Me Sports podcast. I am Louis Schaefer, a.k.a. Daddy Chode, and I am joined by my two friends, my tall hot friend, Alex Birch, and my medium hot friend, Alec Roman. How you guys doing today?
I feel pretty good that I'm a medium hot friend. I feel like I'm the medium rare steak of the world, and I'm okay with that.
I'm feeling good that I get tall hot friend because girls only appreciate guys who are 6 feet and over, according to memes. So the street cred's really starting to build itself up here.
According to this Tumblr page I found.
And I got a couple nicknames between extra large hot friend and Daddy Chode. So
see, but I'm
not really sure where I'm going.
You guys both got sizes. I got a temperature.
just so everybody knows, this was a St. Patrick's Day fiasco.
Oh yeah, no, this is a total inside joke, and no one else
drunk
gets it.
theater girls.
But like, I just want to put it out there that to the lady who said this, who's definitely not listening.
You want to know who is listening though? Our 5 subscribers.
Our 5 subscribers, who I love very, very much. But I just want to put it out there that why did my 2 other friends get sizes and I got lukewarm? Like, I got the tepid water you put your friends in at a hot tub party. Like, why is that me? I'm the bowl of water you stuck your best friend's hand in so he piss himself at a sleepover. Like, why? Why is that my option?
You moved up in the world.
I'd rather be below that, I'll be honest.
You know what? Put that on your next resume. I am a medium hot friend.
Just hi, I'd like this job. Oh yeah, what are your qualifications? Well, I'm the lukewarm bowl of
I'm
water
medium hot.
that you would put your friend's hand in when he wants to pee. And the guy's just like, yeah, you're hired. I don't even care.
Good God Almighty.
Good job.
All right. So for the rest of this podcast, besides us making fun of each other and my terrible, terrible nicknames in life, we're going to talk about the World Baseball Classic that happened just last night. Who won? If you don't know already, we'll talk about who won. And then kind of the future of that team and also all teams in the World Baseball Classic because it looks like it's getting bigger. The Raw reactions, our SmackDown reactions both had decent to fantastic shows. You could probably already guess if you listened before which one those are. And then we are going to go over hockey since we are getting closer to playoff season in the NHL, and then March Madness as we close down to the Final Four and the champion. How many brackets have been blown up already? Louis Schaefer has deleted his app because he's so upset. And somehow, for the first time ever, I'm doing pretty okay. So it's a real bad thing. So let's start
I have no comment.
Yeah, no comment.
Start off right away with the World Baseball Classic. The United States, didn't win last night. The United States, just demolished a poor Puerto Rican team last night, who looked heavily favored to win everything, having not lost all tournament long, going up against the United States team, which I don't even think is the best team the United States could put together on a bad day. And you're going to talk about them beating them 8-0, and the Puerto Rico only getting 3 hits off of Marcus Stroman, who I think is a good pitcher, but not that good of a pitcher. So, Louis, what happened last night? Like, what was what went on with the Puerto Rican national team of the Mets farm system?
or ex-players, Beltran, Pagano, too.
It's either ex-Mets or future Mets.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I kind of got the sense that, the United States, since pool play, really had to play with their backs against the wall. They played several games where it was, if you don't win this, you're going back to your spring training camp. And I think they were just more ready for that. I guess you could say big pressure, even though it's World Baseball Classic. It's during their spring training. But I guess you could say they were better prepared for that pressure of playing in, a one-game take-all, so essentially a Game 7. They were just better prepared to do that. and it showed because Puerto Rico just didn't come out hot at all.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, but I mean, I think there was a lot of pressure on that team. You're talking about a sport that literally we made up.
Yeah.
Literally we made, and we have never won the tournament we made up to prove who was the best.
Yeah.
That's embarrassing. That's like if Canada was like, hey, we made hockey, we're never going to win, though.
Yeah.
Like, that's just, it's insulting. So I think they faced a lot of pressure to come in there and be like, this is the farthest, A, we've ever come, and B, this we have to win this because this is our sport. You finally took down a Dominican team, and you're like, Japan's gone, the Dominican's gone, Korea's gone. We can finally have a chance at this. Let's please not lose to the island's nation of 3 million people.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Birch, what do you think? What were your interpretations of the game last night?
I was blown away, I think, more by 36-year-old Ian Kinsler showing that he's still got a little pop in his bat. And Marcus Stroman, like, channeling his inner 2010 Roy Halladay, just to throw a Phillies pitcher in there. But I think the best moment for me was realizing that J.C. Romero was still, like, alive.
To know that J.C. Romero is still out there somewhere.
J.C. Romero, a hero to the Philadelphians in 2008, has a blonde goatee now and is still slinging it.
Yeah, he's still out there.
But yeah, I mean, no, it definitely, just to piggyback off of what you guys are saying, I mean, this is America's pastime, this sport, and they've never won. So I think there was a lot of pressure on some young guys, some older guys to step up, not only to prove it for the U.S., but to prove it to themselves too, and their major league clubs that, hey, they've got it.
Yeah.
And the thing that really stood out to me was they took down a Dominican team and Japanese team that were really good. And going into it, Puerto Rico was favored. So I think there was a big chip on their shoulder, and I'm just happy to see America come out on top.
Yeah, I mean, for me, there was no real loser to the game because if the United States won, the United States won, and if Puerto Rico won, Puerto Rico won. So, I mean, to me,
yeah, absolutely.
I was just like, all right, cool. Like, either way, I just got to wear a different flag tomorrow.
But it's the fashion that the U.S. won in. I mean, they crushed them. They crushed them.
There was no chance. But I want to go off of that and ask you guys about this. You went into the World Baseball Classic. Let's talk about just the pool round for the United States. Like an extra innings game against a team who was barely skated into the World Baseball Classic at all in Venezuela. And then you lose to the Dominican right off the bat, too. And you're thinking to yourself, oh man, we're going out in the first round this year. We barely beat Venezuela, and we just got destroyed in 2 innings by the Dominican Republic. What does that mean for when we're going to face the next team, which was Canada, which shouldn't be any struggle, but for all intents and purposes, we could have gone out there, Chris Archer could have underhanded the ball, and Freddie Freeman could have gone yard as the only player in Canada. So, after that first round, I thought, yeah, this is another year where I'm rooting for Puerto Rico, and I'm not even caring about the country I was born in. But, I think most of my surprise came from the fact that, and I'll bring this up now, the United States kind of won with a scrub team. You look at Puerto Rico, they have to play Angel Pagan. They have to play Carlos Beltran, even though they're old. They have to play Yadier Molina because he's old. Because they have no other options. You know what I mean? TJ Rivera is playing first base because they don't have another first baseman. Carlos Correa is playing third because they don't have another third baseman. So, when you look at the United States, yes, you have Giancarlo, Adam Jones, Andrew McCutchen, who all deserve to be in that outfield hands down every day. But then I look at guys like Christian Yelich, who played out of his mind during that tournament. But I think to myself, where was the call to Bryce Harper? You were like, man, we need a right fielder. We can get the best one the United States has, Bryce Harper or Christian Yelich, who's been good, but not – I mean, you're talking about an MVP in Bryce Harper that did not show up. And I think the part that scared me the most about when they were talking about the United States team was the pitching. Your pitching rotation was Marcus Stroman, who played out of his mind, Chris Archer, who didn't do terrible, and Tanner Roark played against the Dominican team, which gave me nightmares. I was having agita during the middle of that game because the relief pitcher was pitching for 5 innings, And you can't tell me there was no call to Arrieta, Lester, Chris Sale, David Price, Scherzer, Bumgarner. All those guys were Clayton Kershaw, Greinke. Everyone just said, "Nah, I'm good." Like,
I'm wondering if there's a clause in some of these guys like contracts where they can't because of injury concern or something. Because yeah, I mean, you look at the roster. Where are the Mike Trouts, the Bumgarners, the big name guys like that? I mean, I don't know enough of what goes into the World Baseball Classic to give a definitive answer. But if I was going to give you a guess, I would think that there's got to be something somewhere that says, okay, you can't have Bryce Harper because if Bryce Harper goes in, he's running a base, tears his ACL. I mean, that screws the Nationals. Whereas, in spring, he might play a game, take a couple days off, play another game, take a couple days off. I mean, I don't know, though.
I mean, what's the difference to you guys then? Because let's talk about a guy like Miguel Cabrera. A guy who's a perennial. I mean, this guy's going to go in the Hall of Fame because of his Triple Crown performances and everything like that. But talking about a guy who hasn't stolen a base in years. And then in the World Baseball Classic has so much passion for his country that he swipes a bag. Like, you're telling me that you can't get any American guy to play with such passion when an elderly Miguel Cabrera is just like, yeah, no, I'm taking second. Like, this is happening.
I don't think I've seen Miguel Cabrera steal a base since he was back with the Marlins.
Right, but he was in a situation where he was on base. They couldn't sub out because they had nobody else, and he was like, "No, I'm doing this." Like, where's that passion? I think you had that passion from Kinsler and Yelich and McCutchen and those guys, but where's that passion from the Trouts? Is it just a contract thing? Because do you walk in and they're like, "Hey, listen, we're gonna give you X amount of money for the rest of your contract." But you can't go represent your country when the time comes. And what does that say for the Olympics? Are we going to have an Olympic team that's filled with minor leaguers and decent players, but not your Hall of Famers?
Well, I mean, I kind of think, I mean, I know a lot of players said that they didn't want to do it. Obviously, you do get older. It's a lot easier when you're 30 plus. To say I'm gonna pitch a couple innings here and there in spring training as opposed to going 5 innings every 5th day with the World Baseball Classic. But I look at it and like I said, the pitching concerned me going into it. However, you mentioned Harper and Trout and why weren't they there? They had Stanton, they had Arenado. Where were Trout and Harper? Part of me thinks that they essentially get to choose, similar to the NBA, where when Olympic time comes around and Krzyzewski gets his pick of all but like 20 players in the NBA. Because they play for Spain or France or Australia. Other than that, he has the pick of the NBA for who he wants.
Right.
And I think it's a similar thing in a sense of, okay, you take out your Carlos Gonzalez, your Carlos Correa, Miguel Cabrera, Freddie Freeman, you take out those guys and then pick from everything else. But part of me feels that, let's be honest, they probably had the best outfielder in the tournament just by having Stanton on the team. Then you add in a McCutchen, a Yelich, a Adam Jones. Part of me thinks that guys like Harper and Trout were not there this year because they were trying to damper expectations. Let's face it, this is the 4th time it's run. Japan's won it twice, Dominican Republic, and now the United States. And I think it was a matter of they wanted to damper expectations and not have an outfield of Stanton, Harper, Trout. And everyone's like, oh, well, we're winning because we have the 3 best outfielders in the game, as opposed to it being kind of a pleasant surprise, I guess you can say, when Adam Jones is out there every day, almost every day, and they win the whole thing.
I think, yeah, you could say that, but that kind of goes back to my thing with Canada. If Canada came out tomorrow and was like, hey, for the next Winter Olympics, Jonathan Toews is sitting, Sidney Crosby is sitting, and let's say Carey Price is sitting, and we're gonna play Adam Henrique, Taylor Hall, and we're gonna throw in I don't even know who's another Canadian goalie you could throw in there. Throw in some like guy who's doing pretty decent, I guess. But like, yeah, could they still win? Absolutely. There's players on that team, and they still could beat the crap out of Finland. They could beat the crap out of Sweden. They could probably beat the United States still. You can't. The Carlsons and Lundqvist still can't match up to an entire Canadian team.
Well, let me just say this: if there was a Canadian team where Jonathan Toews and Sidney Crosby were not playing, and Carey Price, there probably would be riots.
Well, like, but why isn't there riots for this? Being that you're gonna say this is our national pastime. We're gonna send. It's like a miracle situation. This is our national pastime, and we're gonna send in a bunch of college kids to defend the thing we made up. And it just,
I just don't know if there's really one conclusive answer to it. I mean, maybe it's a situation where we'll never know. Like, Lewis, you bring up a good point, and I mean, maybe there is the idea that these guys, like certain players, are like not to be touched. I don't know, but I mean, yeah, you bring up a good question. Like, why can't Mike Trout, Bryce Harper, Buster Posey, Bumgarner, Kurt Shaw,
Posey was out there. He played the first game, and they benched him because he was so bad. They were like, Jonathan Lucroy is going to be the answer here, and he was, but still.
Yeah, I forgot about Posey, but in short, like Trout, Harper, why don't they get to go out and play for the country? I mean, I don't know. It's weird.
It strikes me in a weird place because if someone had called me tomorrow, and I know I'm not. My baseball skills were never at the ability to play even minor league baseball. But if someone called me tomorrow and for anything ever said, hey, listen, you're going in and you're going to wear your country's colors, whatever that may be, I would absolutely do it. Like, that's just hands down. That's like to be on the world stage and prove that we still got it. I mean, that's just insane to me how anyone could get that call and be like, nah, I'm good. I'm just going to make my millions over here and not even try.
Well, and I think now that we won, I think it may change the attitude. I mean, I know, a couple weeks ago, before the tournament started, Syndergaard got the invite and turned him down and said, no one's ever gone into the Hall of Fame based on World Baseball Classic stats. Okay, I understand that, you don't want to get hurt. Your team has, hopes of maybe winning a championship this year. But now that they won, I think it may start to change the attitude of, you can bring back a Christian Yelich, or you can bring back an Ian Kinsler, or you can go get, let's think, it's every 3 years? So a Dansby Swanson, a Bryce Harper.
Every 4 now. They push it to 4.
Every 4?
Yeah.
So, Dansby hopefully will have developed by then because he'll be getting close to free agency.
You're talking about, in 4 years, it's Dansby, it's Seager, it's all those guys. Chris Bryant, hopefully. Where was he in this one?
Can I just throw a Philly in so I feel better about myself?
No Phillies are American.
Nick Williams.
Nick Williams.
Hopefully Nick Williams. Listen, buddy, he's gonna have to beat out
J.P. Crawford.
Yeah, they can do that, but he's got to beat out Glaber, Aaron Judge, and Greg Bird. So
please continue.
Glaber will be playing for some other country.
Well, that's the other thing the last point I wanted to bring up about this is 5 days before the tournament started, 5 days before teams met for the first time for their countries, Marcus Stroman was not on the United States roster. He was not even considered. He was playing for the team that they would play in the finals. Marcus Stroman was playing for the Puerto Rican national team 5 days beforehand. So many pitchers had turned the United States down that this guy got the call and said, hey, listen, we know you joined the Puerto Rican team because you literally thought, there's no way I'm making the American one. But guess what? You made it. So, that's just, it hurts so much to me to think that you're going to take players from, I guess, so low in the barrel that they were like, I got to go play somewhere else because I just want to be in this.
Well, doesn't that – no, real quick, not to cut you off, but maybe because of that situation, he pitched with a chip on his shoulder last night. That's why he was so dominant. Because it was him going out to the mound saying, you know what, basically fuck you for not considering me. you were hoping for Bumgarner, Kershaw.
I'm gonna prove to you why I should have been considered.
Absolutely, and I think that's exactly why Marcus Stroman proved that he was the ace of that team last night.
And to go against what Syndergaard had said, and I know I can't really talk to him because otherwise I would say much more violent things. But going against what he said, and Tanaka too. Tanaka turned down the Japanese team, so Daisuke started most of their games.
So did Ohtani too. He wasn't on the team either for Japan.
So like to all those players who say like, oh, but no one ever got into the Hall of Fame because of their WBC stats. Marcus Stroman, in 2 years when his Blue Jays contract is up, is about to get paid somewhere. Because he's going to take this film where he struck out Carlos Correa, Carlos Beltran, Angel Pagan, Eddie Rosario, TJ Rivera, and Yadier Molina, Javi Baez, Francisco Lindor. He struck them all out. And he's going to go to any team in Major League Baseball and look at them and go, here's what I can do for you. And he's going to get paid more than any of the guys he was passed over to get to Marcus Stroman. And to Syndergaard, I say, don't you want to get paid too? If you're doing this to win ships, don't you want to get paid? Like, this is the perfect way to get your name out there. So if you really want to prove that you're the top guy in that Mets rotation, that's what you have to do. And for right now, based on that stats, Seth Lugo pitched himself in that Mets rotation this year. Because he shut out some pretty good teams if you ignore what happened last night.
Yeah.
So, I mean, isn't this an opportunity for all of those players to kind of look at it and just go, listen, I'm the Madison Bumgarner's like, man, people are starting to think I'm not the Mad Bum of old because we're not winning ships anymore and we missed an even year. I'm going to go out there and prove them all that I'm still Mad Bum. Wouldn't that be the choice you make?
I mean,
no, not to cut you off, Lewis, but I was going to piggyback off of your point before when you said, maybe in a couple of years you're going to see guys like Syndergaard, Bumgarner, if he's still around, Kershaw, Trout, Harper, really take note and say, you know what, maybe we need to continue this. Maybe we need to get our feet in the door here and start playing for our country.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, to your point, Alec, I can see the value in it. But I feel it benefits fringe guys like Lugo much more than it does for a guy who's established. I mean, pitchers get paid. There's no way around that.
Absolutely.
Stroman was going to get paid regardless, whether it was the Blue Jays or the Yankees or Team X. So I think it benefits those fringe guys more. You look at a guy like Seth Lugo, like you said. I mean, right now, if I have to take, if I'm Terry Collins and I have to choose between, Seth Lugo, who, with the exception of one game, dominated the World Baseball Classic, or Gesellman, who's been, good in spring, pitching, 2-3 innings a game to AAA guys.
Right.
Lugo's getting the nod right away, and then if he fails, then you go to Gesellman.
Well, I mean, Chris Archer had said that he looked at it as a situation of, I can go pitch 2 innings with the Rays every 3 days, or I can go pitch real games and get myself ready.
Yeah.
So, I understand there's an injury concern, but to me, you're going to – I mean, and this is just me coming from the former athlete's point of view – being able to play literally scrimmage games or to pitch 2 innings, see 6 minor league batters, and then sit down, I'm going to go play some scrimmage games, I'll be honest.
Well, yeah, and I mean, this year was the first year that they regulated some of the rules as far as, what the players are allowed to do. That's why you had, a guy like Roark make the team who's a long reliever with the Nationals. Because you needed a guy that, hey, if Stroman burns through all of his pitches in 3 innings, we need a guy to go out there before we go to Miller. This was the first year that was regulated. The last year, there was a big uproar that this is how long ago this was. Oliver Perez was a big part of the Mets rotation, and he blew out his arm playing for Mexico.
Right.
So everybody was up in arms about that. So I do think there was an injury concern, but seeing how much it benefited the players, in terms of they're coming back in game shape now.
You're looking at Kinsler, who now looks like the Kinsler of Texas. Yelich, who is now almost just as good as Stanton at putting the ball in play. And then you're talking about Stroman, who now looks like he could be the new David Price of that Blue Jays team. And then even look at the foreign teams. There was 2 guys, I forget their names right now, and it escapes me. The 2 pitchers for Canada, the only 2 guys who got to go, were in their 40s. And
Ryan Dempster was one.
I know Ryan Dempster, and I forget the other guy's name. They're both former major leaguers. They both said they're trying to make comebacks, and they have convincing cases off the games played for Canada. And you're talking about looking at guys like Craig Kimbrell, who turned the U.S. down, Syndergaard, all those guys, and just saying, what are you doing? This is an opportunity for you to prove that you could still play in the MLB and get yourself game day ready so you can go up opening day. And you just said, nah, I'm good. I'm just going to throw to the, Brian McKinney's of the world, and that'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, there's definitely a benefit to it. Like I said, guys like Baez, Archer, Stroman, guys who played in it are coming back somewhat. They're going to be more in game shape than the guys that stayed in their respective camps. Yeah. But I mean, I think you got to look at it at a point, and I think, like I said, another thing that's going to contribute to, I think more players are going to come out for it the next time around. They won, so now it's something to defend.
Yeah, now you got to defend it.
And now it's a matter of, as opposed to the last time when you had a guy literally end his season playing for a team that didn't even pay him in Perez. Now, what was the biggest injury? I think Didi tweaked his hamstring or his shoulder.
He tweaked his shoulder, and then he said he's fine for the start of the regular season anyway. And they were like, if Didi doesn't play, Glaber does. So we're not mad.
And I mean, and that was the only real injury. I mean, no one really got hurt once they started to regulate this year.
Well, I mean, there's no regulations. There's no regulations for field players. Field players can play as much as they want.
But they had enough outfielders where, Adam Jones went every other day. Stanton went every other. It's like they wouldn't camp. They just played more in it.
Right, but I mean, if you look at the other foreign teams that had major league players, they played every day and they were fine.
Yeah.
They protected the pitchers this year, which is good. But still, I mean, there's got to be, if you're going to make this World Baseball Classic a big thing, you got to put some more passion behind your players for it, because I saw people that were dying to play for countries that their great-grandparents were from just to play. And then you had the U.S. team that looked lackadaisical at best to be like, yeah, sure, I'll suit up. But you had Francisco Cervelli that people are now trying to find out whether he doctored his documents to say he's really Italian. That's just there's just so much passion to play baseball for a country that you feel you belong to in most of these places that came out, and it just feels like for the United States there is no passion to do that. Where if you look at other sports, there is a passion. I think if you told Zach Parise that he can't play for the United States next time, he'd stab somebody. So I just wonder where the disconnect in this sport is that you're not willing to do so.
I'll just leave it with this final thought. I mean, not every player is ever going to win a professional championship. Right. There's no guarantee Mike Trout will ever get a ring. There's no guarantee Bryce Harper will ever get a ring. And, the list goes on, but they have a chance to win something.
Their country something.
You win your country something. That, to me, almost in a way puts you in a pedestal of the greats winning for your country, as it does, winning the NBA Finals, the World Super Bowl, whatever sport it is. I mean, I think winning for your country is almost as satisfying as winning one of those championships.
Yeah. All right, so we'll move on to Raw. There's only one thing that I have to say about Raw. It was better than last week, but there was 2 big things that came out of Raw this week. You had Mick Foley get fired, which was disappointing to everybody.
We knew it was coming, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, everybody knew
it still was disappointing, though.
And then, so The Undertaker physically coming out and confronting Roman Reigns. So my question to you guys is, I'll start with this. What happens to Mick Foley now? Does he literally just walk away into the sunset, or is he still part of WrestleMania in some respect, because I mean they had that big long thing where he walked through the hallway, and you had T.J. Perkins, Cesaro, and Sheamus. I mean, everyone on the Raw roster thanking him for what he did.
Yeah, you know what?
Was that a thing to say like he's not really leaving?
You bring up a good background to it. I don't think he's leaving the company, but I think he's taking a major step back because he's had health issues. They pulled Holy Foley off of the network. I know he just had hip replacement surgery and knee replacement surgery. So I wouldn't be surprised if that, the sentimental goodbyes from, like TJ Perkins, Cesaro, and guys like that was them kind of thanking him for what he's done because they know that he's really taking a major step back from the company.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a little bit of time off for him as well. There's, some health concerns, whatever. But I don't think he'll be at WrestleMania because I think they're going to keep him off TV at least for a couple months. But I'm interested to see how this pans out now with the GM spot because I'm reading a lot of rumors.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways they can go. Like I've seen Kurt Angle has been thrown in there.
I've seen
Bischoff coming back. I think that would be amazing. Side note, but Triple H coming back with the heel, the authority thing.
I think the overwhelming thing is just going to be Triple H. I don't think it's going to be – I think anyone else's that's name is getting thrown around is just because they can be like, look, it could be anyone. I think with the way that he's come back and the anger he's shown towards Seth Rollins, he's just going to make Seth Rollins the enemy of the authority, and he's going to be the new person they make fun of for the next 6 months. I think Raw is never going to change. If this was on SmackDown and Shane had left, I think you really could get Kurt Angle or any of those guys to come in on the B show. But I don't think Vince is handing that show to anybody else.
You know what? I wouldn't be surprised. I thought about this. I wouldn't be surprised to see them bring in a Bischoff Angle. I've even seen heel Edge, but somebody outside of the McMahon, clan to challenge Triple H.
I think if you did this 4 years ago, when Triple H still had his long hair and ponytail, absolutely. He was being tested. He was being tested to see if he could
I miss
really
those
take
days
over.
Because there was a wrestler who pushed some buttons around those days.
Well, we'll get to that too because I want to bring that up. But if this is true that Mick is really leaving and he's no longer the GM, I think it's going to go straight to a McMahon because I think the biggest complaint that has always happened was we don't like Raw because it's the same old thing. We don't like Raw because it's the same old thing. And Vince is always going to be like, well, if they don't like the same old thing, let's give them more of the same old thing. And that's it.
That's so accurate. It's unfortunate.
That's all it's ever been. It's and you look at SmackDown where it's like they're tired of the same old.
I'm the one who could put the square peg in the round hole. Damn it.
Yeah, it's
I'm
like
Vince McMahon.
SmackDown sat down and they were like, okay, they're tired of the square peg in the round hole, so let's make a round peg. And then they fixed it.
But then there's Vince somewhere in Stamford, Connecticut, in the corporate office. I'm the one who's going to defy logic here. I'm the one who's going to do it.
Yeah, he has to always break a boundary, and it's not always about that. I think it's just about putting on a good show.
I wouldn't be surprised if they went with Triple H, so that's why I'm kind of holding out, getting my hopes up with an Angle or somebody. But yeah, I'm not down.
I think night after WrestleMania, Seth comes out and is like, "Hey, I won. I'm the new face. I'm always I'm always gonna be here. I'm gonna take back my title and I'm gonna run this place again." And then H is gonna come out and be like, "I'm here to make your life bad," and that's about the next 6 months of wrestling for us. And whether that's and especially with the rumors of H's new evolution, I think the new evolution he's gonna make is just authority.
It's exactly. It's gonna be the new authority. It's gonna be whoever they have, whether it be KO, Joe,
Done.
Charlotte.
I don't know who else is, but
there's
the list goes on. But
there's definitely the building blocks for them to have what they had a couple years ago with the authority, but with a new evolution per se.
Right, and that's all I think is all it's ever gonna be. But what happens to the Undertaker? I'll ask at this because let's be honest, Reigns hasn't lost in a very, very long time. I think I couldn't drink legally the last time Roman Reigns lost. So what does that mean for The Undertaker? Where is this really his last one? Because they haven't said it yet, but Reigns keeps saying how he's going to retire The Undertaker. Is this it? Because I really hope not. So I'll throw it to you guys.
Yeah, I don't think it is. I mean, I don't think Undertaker would go out against Roman Reigns. It's a Vince thing to do. Don't get me wrong. To have Roman Reigns be the one to retire him.
Just to crap on everything.
Because I told you Roman was the strongest one.
But I will say this with a disclaimer, though. If he turns heel, I'm okay with it.
I mean, I'm still not, because I think
But
there's that whole scenario where, like, you had Michaels, who was Flair's good friend, and his career. You had Undertaker, who's Michaels' really good friend, and his career. They can't get one more person who Undertaker really, really likes, unless he truly likes Roman Reigns, which I don't see. They couldn't get one, like, friend of his in the industry just to be like, hey, listen, this is it. This is the last time I'm going for it.
Well, but, I mean, think about it. Undertaker, I mean, to put it nicely, is old.
Oh, yeah, no, he's old. But I want to have Cena retire him because they're friends.
Well, yeah.
It would make more sense. Yeah, I see what you're saying, where it would be if you had like a somebody with the Shawn Michaels pedigree to retire him, whereas it's Roman Reigns, who is literally hated by everybody. In attendance. You know, if he's the one to do it, that's just going to be a sour taste in this company for a very long time.
Yeah, but I mean, to what you were saying, Alec, with having someone that he likes beat him and put him away.
Yeah.
It's a matter for me of, I mean, like I said, the guy's old. Anybody he wrestled with is either on their way out and close to being a part-timer or already a part-timer.
Right.
That just comes back occasionally. Even Cena. I mean...
Well, yeah, no, I'm not saying that it has to be someone to pass the torch to.
Yeah.
So the torch isn't even in his hands anymore. But have somebody who's going to have that deep, emotionally laden match where both parties are literally crying at the end, and I'm crying at home.
You know what you're bringing up, and I was just reading about this the other day, was WrestleMania 26. If they could have had that Shawn Michaels match with The Undertaker as Undertaker's last match, I swear to God I would have been crying like a baby, because that would have been the perfect way to send Undertaker off, and you send Shawn Michaels off, and that was it.
Right, and I think that was the perfect way to send Michaels off, because you saw how much passion went into that match.
And yeah, he was in that match with, you know, a broken vertebrae, and he's got, you know, banged up discs, and he, you know, being Shawn Michaels, told the doctors to shut up. He's gonna go through this one last match, and he put everything he had left into that.
Which I don't see Reigns doing, because he doesn't have anything. He's got so much to lose, because he's just gonna be like, wow, I could lay it all out there on the line and literally risk my life to make this the perfect Undertaker match, or I could worry about my career. So like, I don't blame Roman Reigns for just being like, I'm gonna mail this one in.
I mean, I don't think it's going to be mailed in. I mean,
his last 2 years have been mailed in.
Yeah, but Taker gets good matches out of people that aren't necessarily the best wrestlers. I mean, Bray has gotten significantly better since WrestleMania 31.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But Undertaker he's what now, 51, so maybe 49, carried Bray to a great match.
Oh, he can carry anybody to a match, but the way that, if this is it for him, if he's leaving after this, if this is the last time I hear that song played for a match, for a real entrance, I want to be left with nothing more I want to see. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, and I'm willing to hold that faith that I think we're going to, if this is it, Undertaker's not letting this go out on a shit match.
I really hope not.
No,
yeah.
Knowing Undertaker now.
He will get a good match out of a broomstick for 2 hours if he really wanted to.
I would rather have the broomstick and just put a wig on it.
But, you know, I mean, if I can just jump in real quick, and then I'll let Lewis finish up his point. I wouldn't be surprised if this was set up for Undertaker to mentor Roman Reigns in the ring, or with his
Yeah.
promos. Or with stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a lot of background work going in with this because, look, a lot of people think Reigns' wrestling is dry. His promos are dry. And if there's anybody who kicks ass on promos and wrestling, it's The Undertaker.
It's Enzo Amore.
Well, yeah, Enzo, but given the circumstances, Undertaker.
Yeah, all right. You say what you need, Lewis.
Yeah, but Undertaker, despite not having the streak, if anybody beats him at WrestleMania, it's a big deal.
Right.
Which is why I don't want a John Cena who would have faced him and then went to film Daddy's Home 2 right after WrestleMania and been gone for 3 months.
Right.
I don't want someone like that beating him. I'd rather someone who's gonna be there, Monday the 3rd, and then Monday the 10th, Monday the 17th, and so on. And I want someone that's there. I want it to be Reigns. I'm hot and cold on that necessarily.
Well, with that logic, I can respect that a lot more because I think a lot of people were really pissed off that Undertaker lost to a part-timer when the streak was snapped. Now, I think a lot of people could have put to bed the streak had it been to Shawn Michaels, Triple H, Batista, like one of those big guys at the time that were there. But it was the fact that he lost to a part-timer
who came in for that match and then left.
Who just came in for that match and then left until SummerSlam. I think that's why people were more pissed off at the 21-1 at the time.
Yeah, but even then, it built into what has now become a bigger storyline, where eventually
that Brock's the conqueror.
Someone's going to beat Brock. Yeah,
it's going to be Reigns again.
Maybe.
I know who's going to do it.
But I look at it and for me it's a matter of if this is it, Taker's going to get a good match out of Reigns because he can get a good match out of me if he wanted to. And again, he's only going to, I think everybody's accepted he's only going to lose one more time, whenever that may be. And it'll be his last match. I think everybody's accepted that his last match he's putting someone over.
Yeah, that's true.
And, sure, is everybody going to be up in arms if it's Roman frickin' Reigns? Yeah, because there's better options.
There's a demon who hasn't been on TV but is wrestling that I would love to see do it.
There's matches that make a heck of a lot more sense. You're going to go up Finn Balor, Nakamura, Bobby Roode even. There are matches out there that
Joe, anybody.
Samoa Joe. There are matches out there that would be better
Darren Young.
I mean, I wouldn't go that far.
I'm sorry.
not even beating Taker could make Darren Young great. But, I mean, you look at it and, would I be happy if Reigns beat him? Absolutely not. I don't think Reigns should be the one to do it. But if this is it, and if the Undertaker has said this is my last WrestleMania, then I'm happy that he's going out to someone who's gonna be there, for a while.
It's almost like the quintessential John Cena that Reigns is gonna be there every Monday night, every week, every month, every year for the next X amount of years or whatever.
Right.
I definitely see what you're saying, that you'd rather him lose to a guy who's not a part-timer and just shows up for WrestleMania and SummerSlam, whereas it's a guy who shows up to every single Raw, every single pay-per-view, week in, week out.
Is he boring as shit? Yeah, but he's there.
I mean, let's talk about a different guy that he could have faced and the different show this guy's on. I mean, if Undertaker, yes, has to be on Raw because that's Vince's baby and he'll never let it go. But if Undertaker was on SmackDown, I would have rather him face Dean Ambrose because I know AJ's got to do his thing with Shane and I know Bray's got to do his thing with Randy, so that takes those guys out of it, and you don't want Cena. I mean, Dean Ambrose is going to be there every single week for the rest of eternity as long as SmackDown's a show, and I think the best way to send out Undertaker would have been to let Dean do that crazy, funny promo that he does. And I mean, if you thought that CM Punk messing with the urn was funny, I couldn't have imagined what Dean Ambrose would have done with all that stuff. because that guy.
I could see Dean Ambrose. I could see Dean Ambrose dressing up as Paul Bearer.
Yeah, I could see Dean Ambrose dressing up as Paul Bearer. I could have Dean Ambrose dressing up as one of the old acolytes. I could see, like, there's just so much funny stuff that he could have done promo-wise, and now I got to listen to Believe That for 2 more weeks before I get that.
This is my yard.
Yeah, I got to hear about whose yard it is, and then I got to see, I mean, even when he hit Undertaker, which, the sitting up thing made it really cool, and, like, it just made it a little bit better, but even though you saw it, what were the 2 things that he did to put down the Undertaker? Superman punch, spear, and then he walked away.
I know that's Lewis. Please talk because I'm about to just with that.
No, I mean, like I said, I mean, is he boring as shit? Yes. Right now, he is Times New Roman font.
He's Helvetica. Don't even put him in Times New Roman.
I was gonna go area black. I mean, because that's just kind of like
that's too descriptive.
That's
okay.
That's more of a Breezango. Like it's interesting. We enjoy it sometimes.
Ariel is Breezango. Area black is them dressed up as John Cena and Nikki Bella.
We'll get to that because that was hysterical.
But it's like I said, is he boring as shit right now? Yes. There's no way around that. He needs work. He's rough around the edges. But if he beats The Undertaker, it's a place to start.
Right.
It's a place to start. You could turn him heel. You could, start something with, someone else saying that they wanted to be the one to retire The Undertaker.
I almost feel like they have to turn him.
Reigns took that away from them or whatever. You can take this a number of ways because he's there every week, as opposed to if John Cena beat him. And then John Cena will show back up at SummerSlam and say, hey, Shinsuke Nakamura, I know you're the WWE champion, but I beat The Undertaker, and I'm the face that runs the place. Boo, 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 boo. Face me.
But even then, you can say that he's not going to be there, but just you saying Shinsuke Nakamura versus John Cena for anything, even a bag of peanuts, I just got excited because there's a 5-star match coming out of that guy.
Well, but think about it. When John Cena came back for Rumble, he had nothing. He was beaten at SummerSlam. We hadn't seen him since, and he had to kind of work his way back up to get a match with AJ. And not that he had a whole lot of reestablishing to do because he's still John Cena.
Yeah.
But he had to reestablish himself a bit and say, I'm going to beat Baron Corbin. I'm going to beat, Dean Ambrose. I'm going to beat Dolph Ziggler. I don't even remember who he faced at that point.
Maybe.
And then eventually,
Miz. I think he did a match with Miz too.
I think he did, yeah. And I'm gonna get to AJ Styles, and I'm gonna run through everybody that's in front of me right now, which I think works a whole lot better for him because people are gonna chant John Cena sucks at him anyway.
Right.
But I think that way worked a lot better than, had he beaten AJ at SummerSlam and came back at Rumble and said, well, I beat you. I want a match. You're the champion. I'm going to be 16-time champ. Ding!
Yeah, absolutely.
The thing I wanted to add was if Reigns beats Taker, I feel like you have to have him go heel because this face persona, trying to push him as a face is going absolutely nowhere with the fans in the universe. It's done. I think if they turned him heel and they tried to play off, and I know that they've done this, but I think it works as a heel. If they try to turn him heel and have him play up as I beat the Undertaker, somebody else come out, who can beat the guy who beat the Undertaker now. I think I would respect that more coming from him as a heel going forward, and I think it would legitimize him a little bit more and maybe put him over with the fans as a heel.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if he turns heel, I'm his number one supporter.
Well, because you love heels.
Because you hate the Undertaker and you love heels.
John Cena could go back to basic thugonomics as a heel, and you would immediately become John Cena's biggest fan.
Even after
depends how long his package is.
Yeah, no.
God.
If he
Ask
beat
Nikki.
up Austin Aries to become heel, you would still love him because you'd be like, gotta
No.
support my heels.
Nope. But I mean, if he beats Undertaker and turns heel, I am in full support of that, because then I can start to see where this is building. You know, Brock is face or heel depending on who he's facing at the given time. You know, right now he's a heel because he's going against Bill. You know,
I actually would argue that some people would say that Brock's the face and Bill's the heel because people are pissed that Bill can't last for more than 2 minutes.
I mean, but that's
that's why all my ex-girlfriends got rid of me. So.
But I mean,
oh God.
But
thanks
I mean,
for the subtlety.
Lukewarm hot friend.
But I mean, you look at it and, you know, they're going to be able to build to something where, you know, well, I ended the streak, but I retired him. So
yeah, no.
It becomes a dick measuring contest that could work if he's a heel. It's not going to work if he's like, I retired The Undertaker, but cheer me.
Yeah,
no. The thing is they clearly, and this has been known for 2 years now, they clearly want him to be that guy, and they continue to call him the guy, the big dog, whatever. If you have him beat Taker and you have him go heel and you have him play up, I'm the guy that retired Undertaker. That makes a lot more sense than, yeah, like you said, I'm heel, or I'm the guy.
Yeah, I'm the guy. I'm the guy. Cheer
like,
for me, please.
Yeah, like if you turn him heel and he puts on a great match with Undertaker and wants to play up that, you know, I'm the one who beat arguably one of the greatest superstars ever, probably one of the best WrestleMania superstars ever. I can respect that a heck of a lot more as a heel than I would as a face.
Yeah. All right. So moving from utter silliness that is the Roman Reigns saga going on 3 years to utter silliness, the greatest wrestling show on TV as of this week, SmackDown
Impact
Live.
Wrestling?
Well, no, that's just the dumbest show on TV.
No, that's Raw.
SmackDown
TNA
had probably the greatest episode, I think, in its history, even counting the anniversary ones last night, like 2 nights ago, because they had a tag team title switch that no one really saw coming. I mean, you're going to talk about 2 weeks before WrestleMania, you're going to switch the team who's holding the titles. That's pretty ballsy. So hats off to you. I mean, you had Miz and Maurice dressing up as John Cena and Nikki Bella. You had Breezango dressing up as John Cena and Nikki Bella. I mean, this whole thing was hysterical in all the right ways.
Yeah, that's where I give SmackDown so much more credit, is because they know how to make certain jokes. Like Raw, if they did this, I feel like they would completely butcher it and make it just garbage. It would be garbage.
Unless the New Day or Enzo and Cass did it, it'd be trash.
Yeah, I mean, New Day dressing up as Nikki and John, I think would be
been
funny.
Hysterical, because I think if you made Big E wear Nikki's outfit, you would have had me for weeks.
Oh man. Oh,
now Xavier dressed as Brett Maddox.
No, leave X out of this.
Yeah, but going back to it, like SmackDown, I think takes more risks with things, and they know how to take said risks. Where Raw doesn't want to take the risk. They need to be a PG show, borderline PG-13 sometimes, because audiences like us want to see a little more PG-13. SmackDown, they just don't care. They want good matches. Yeah, they want good matches. They want, good rivalries, good heels, good faces, and they want good comedy. And you know what? Tuesday night, they did exactly that.
Yeah, I mean, like, let's think about the Shane McMahon, AJ Styles face-off. Everybody knew this was either ending in a phenomenal forearm, a Styles clash, or, a coast-to-coast. It was the way that they have to end any fight between the two of them. AJ comes out and says, I'm going to apologize to you. So the heel is approaching the face and saying, listen, man, I was wrong. Like, I was off my kettle. Like, I didn't know what was going on. I blew a gasket, and, like, please, forgive me. And then you have the face in Shane McMahon just start throwing jabs at his face. And, like, it made it... There was the reversal. It made it entertaining. It made it interesting. You just had him beat the snot out of AJ, throw him on the table, and then get up to the top rope. And instead of doing a boring move that we see every week, he put AJ through a table, and that's how they ended the show. So
and I'm just gonna say, Nothing ended in a DQ. That's what made it good.
Nothing ended in a DQ that night. Every match had a clean victory, and even you had Breezango come out there, and yes, they're dressed up, and Tyler Breeze is dressed up as Nikki Bella so they can fight in this mixed tag match. Let's not even acknowledge that that's against the rules because Tyler Breeze still has his penis. So.
Or does he?
Or does he? But I'm gonna err on the side that he still does, and he is dressing up. So we're gonna ignore all the rules first off, and then Fandango is gonna walk up to John Cena, write him a fashion ticket, which by the way, dumbest gimmick anyone's ever come up with, but hysterical all the same. Writes him a fashion ticket and throws it at him, screaming, "Jorts went out of style 10 years ago." Something that everyone has said to John Cena for the past 10 years, but him doing it while throwing a piece of paper at him made me laugh on my couch.
I have to give Fandango credit because if The Rock couldn't get it through to him, I didn't know who could.
Right, so why is SmackDown doing all the dumb things I feel like I would make fun of on Raw, but it works so well because their characters are just totally bought into it.
You know what I want to put in, and then I'll let Lewis go. When have you ever, going up to a pay-per-view, any pay-per-view, even like the B and C graded pay-per-views, when has Raw ever changed a title within a week or two? Surprisingly, you didn't hear rumors about it.
Without an injury, never.
Without an injury, without a DQ, without some kind of stupid stipulation.
Yeah,
that's why I think SmackDown is really kicking them in the ass, is because they're taking the risks and they're trying to do things that catch us off guard, that makes it more interesting each week.
Yeah, but I think even not to prevent Lewis from saying anything, but just to cap it off, Raw probably still has the better ratings because everyone just knows what night it's on. That's it. That's the only thing it is.
Well, and I think too,
it's never changed its night, and you have the cruiserweights.
Yeah.
I think if you took the cruiserweights off and you change it to if you did anything differently with it, you put it an hour earlier, no one would watch it.
The only reason that Raw gets the better ratings, if you ask me, is because they have Seth Rollins, Brock Lesnar, Goldberg, Bayley, Charlotte, Sasha. They had Joe, Owens, Jericho. I mean, they have a better cast of superstars by name.
Yeah, I mean, it's astonishing how much better SmackDown is. I mean, that's all I can really say.
We might just be saying this every week.
Essentially, we do, but it's true. It's not like we're lying about it.
No.
So, I mean, that kind of wraps up that. So we'll move on to hockey. One of the last things we talk about here. We're talking about teams that are already in. Most of the Atlantic Division is figured out. It's already been, or not the Atlantic, the Metropolitan. All the divisions are different now. It screws me up. But the Metro is pretty much figured out for who's in. I think all three teams have clinched, being Washington, the Blue Jackets, and the Penguins. The Blackhawks, of course, are back. It wouldn't be a playoffs without them. Minnesota clinches tonight, I think, unless three other teams win and they lose at the same time. So, they're in. What is happening over there?
Nothing.
What are you doing?
Not looking at A-Double's package.
Oh,
it sounds like you're making a protein shake out of just ice cubes. All right.
And looking at A-Double's package.
It's a weird night for you. So going off of that, I'll ask this right away. We kind of figured out who's in and who's out now in hockey. Alex, who wins? Who's coming home with this thing for you? Is it a Penguins repeat?
Don't say it.
Well, here's how I see it. It would almost be a complete disaster if the Caps didn't win it. Because you went out and you got Shattenkirk. I mean, you got Oshie a couple years ago. You have arguably the best goalie in the game in Braden Holtby. You have Alexander Ovechkin, who I consider to be the best player in the game. And no, that's not because I'm a Flyers fan and diss Crosby. I just think Ovechkin's better. But with that being said, if the Caps don't win, that has to be arguably the biggest collapse in terms of having so much talent on a team and not being able to win. The Blackhawks are always a dangerous team, especially when they're first in the West, because whenever they come in first in the West, they seem to win. This is tough because I think this playoff year is going to be really interesting. Could Pittsburgh repeat? Yeah, as much as I want to vomit saying that, and my stomach's already starting to churn as we speak. They could realistically repeat. Matt Murray's a good goalie. Crosby, Malkin in the playoffs. They find another gear, and they don't have to play the Flyers in the playoffs. But if you're asking me today, Thursday, March 23rd, I have to think that the Capitals finally get over the hump and win it.
All right, yeah, Lewis, for you, I know your Rangers are in it, but do you really think they can take everybody else out?
This year's been all about low expectations.
Keep them low. I mean, I remember you saying.
Honestly.
Yeah, I remember you saying they weren't even going to make the playoffs, and here they are as the 4 seed in the East. You know?
Well, no, they're not the 4 because they're going to be a wild card team, but they're going to.
Okay.
They're going to be like a 7. So, and they're going to play most likely the Capitals in the first round. They're either playing the Capitals or the Jackets, who I disagree with you, Burge. I don't think that Braden Holtby's the best goalie. I think it's Bobrovsky because he's done it with no defense.
Yeah, that's true too. I completely forgot about good old Bob.
So I think, Lewis, do you think the Rangers could take out the Jackets and then go on to face either the Penguins or the Caps and still do well?
I mean, by default, I need to have hope, but I mean, I think if there was any team that Rick Nash would finally get off the 5-year schneid in the playoffs, would maybe be Columbus.
Okay.
Logic would tell you.
Wouldn't mind it. I mean, one score here and there wouldn't be bad for him because, Zuccarello shows up, Kreider shows up, Hayes shows up. We'll see how the young guys play. But, obviously if Rick Nash decides to, hey, maybe I'm going to win something this year, Rangers could be onto something.
Okay, so, I mean, for me, I think coming out, I'm probably not going to take an Eastern Conference team because I think the Eastern Conference is just going to beat each other up. I think there's too much animosity there between all the teams that are going in.
Can I guess who you're going to take?
I mean, sure.
You're going to take Zach Parise in the Wild.
No, because I don't think that, even in my article I wrote for our website, I don't think that they can do it, even with Martin Hansel coming in.
I'm shocked.
I don't think it's happening. I think, for sure, like you said, the Blackhawks being the number 1 seed, take it. That's it. It's said and done.
I'm not surprised. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, I should say. I mean, it's Taves, Kane.
Pissed off, too, because they did not even get close last year. So you're talking about a team that lost a lot of players, was pissed off they didn't make it, got a lot of players back, got a lot of youth back, and are turning around and being like, you know what? We're going to kick the snot out of this team before Connor McDavid gets too good.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why I think that this playoff series, this playoff year is going to be really interesting because, the East is known for beating each other up. There's good rivalries, the Pens and Rangers, the Pens and Caps, Toronto and Boston, Montreal and Ottawa. Like there's just legitimate rivalries there. Not that there's not in the West, but the West just plays a different brand of hockey. And when you have the Chicago Blackhawks as the number 1 seed, it's almost impossible to ignore them as a legitimate cup contender.
I'll say this. The only 2 things that I see stopping the Chicago Blackhawks are 2 men wearing really, really big pads. I think Devin Dubnyk from the Wild, if he plays how he played in December, January time, where he didn't lose a single game, and he plays on his head during the playoffs.
Yeah, when they had that major win streak.
Yeah, I think the Wild could probably take out the Blackhawks, and then I have to eat my words thinking that Zach finally gets a ring somewhere else. But, this is the other thing I said in my article. This is it for the Wild, and that scares me. Because you're going into a season where there's an expansion draft. And even if you don't lose that many important pieces in the expansion draft, Zach Parise and a few of your young players, our contracts are all up at the same time. So you're talking about you have to play Hansel still, unless you offload Hansel because he's still got years on his deal. Either you convince him to retire, or you just offload him to some other team. You have to let Parise walk because you can't pay Dubnyk and him at the same time good money.
Right.
Or you sign your young player, or you sign Parise and let your young players walk because you're just like, we won one, I guess, just let everyone retire in our colors and then we just start all over again. So, either there's 2 or 3 young studs hitting the free agency market from the Wild, or there's Zach Parise hitting the free agency market for the Wild. So, like, that scares me in the fact of either way, some team's going to pick up a lot from the Wild, and I don't think they can recover if they don't win this year. And then Bobrovsky. Bobrovsky is the only thing that could come out of the East and just be like, yeah, no, I can stop a Jonathan Toews shot. Like, that's it. Lundqvist 5 years ago, absolutely, he's the best goalie in the world. But let's be honest here, he's not getting any younger, and Bobrovsky's been playing on a different
he's lights
level
out
this year.
He's lights out right now.
You have one good defenseman on that entire team, and Bobrovsky has used it so well. I mean, just to be able to have that many shutouts with you looking at Seth Jones as your best option. So, you know, I got to give it to him. He's the best goalie in the East, and I think if there's anyone that's going to stop the Blackhawks in the finals, if the Blue Jackets get there, it's going to be Bobrovsky. Matt Murray can't do it, and sure as hell, I don't like Braden Holtby at all because he cannot stop a power play at all. So,
you know what I wanted to ask, is there any decision made where Vegas is going in the East and West or West?
They're absolutely West.
Oh, they're going into the West? Okay.
If
that makes sense.
If the NHL put Vegas in the Eastern Conference, that geologically makes no sense.
Okay. Yeah.
And then, secondly, it's just dumb because now you have 3 more teams in the East than there are in the West.
Yeah. Okay. That was kind of a dumb question. I should have used common sense, but I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, I think the next 2 expansion teams are gonna have to be West, even though there's rumors that Quebec City gets their own hockey team again, which would again put the East at a 2-team advantage over the West, which I think only hurts the East because
they could send the Red Wings back.
I think
they could send the Flyers to the West, and we could just watch the Flyers get pummeled on.
No, if you look at the West right now, I don't know if you still have it up. Look at the West's numbers. Most
I know
Eastern Conference
the Flyers
teams
would be in the playoffs.
Yeah, there's Eastern Conference teams that are on the fringe that would make the playoffs in the West. It's the exact opposite of basketball, where you could go under 500 and make the playoffs in the East in basketball. You can't even go over 500 and make the playoffs in hockey.
Yeah, so I know the Flyers would actually eke out like a 7 or 8 in the West.
Yeah,
but then they'd have to face Minnesota or Chicago, and I think God,
every team this year going into the playoffs has to think that this is a one and done situation, that this is it. Every team's got to play like this is their last shot, because a lot of teams because you're coming into an expansion draft, you can only protect 8 players, and in a hockey team that's not much. So,
well, I think when you talk about like one and done, how much more can Washington add to a team that already has Backstrom, Ovechkin, Oshie, Holtby, Shattenkirk, Mike Green? List goes on and on. How much more can you continue to trade away from your minor league and young guys to continue to add more superstars and not win? Like, I think the time is now for the Caps. If they don't do it, I don't think they ever will.
But I think the mantra from the East for forever, I mean, since the dawn of time, essentially, is defense and goaltending, and I think it always has been. So you're looking at, I mean, the Devils and the 3-1s they won was Marty Brodeur, Scott Stevens, and Ken Danico. I don't care what your opinions are on that team. Two legendary defensemen and 1 legendary goalie works.
Well, that's how the Flyers did in 74-75. Granted, it was 30 years ago, but
same way. I mean, let's look at the Rangers in 2014, 2013, 2014.
2014.
Oh yeah, when they played the Kings, yeah.
Ryan McDonough and Henrik Lundqvist. Yeah, great defense, great goalie.
And Girardi was still good then too.
Yeah, and I mean even Delzato was still on the team, and he was just being a third wheel. And great defense, great goalie, gets you in the finals. Let's look at LA. Go out to LA. Great goalie, great defense, gets you in the finals, wins you 2 cups. I mean, where are you looking from? There is no team in the East that has won in recent memory where you can look at me and go, had a garbage goalie, no one else helped, and there was no defense. It was just all scoring.
Oh yeah, but I'm just saying with the Caps, you have a good goalie with Holtby. You have
I really don't think you do. I just think it's a situation of Holtby's letting in 4 goals a game. If we score 5, which we can still win because we're playing Arizona.
I don't know. I mean, I just think with the talent that they have and the stars that they have, like if they don't do it, then they're just never going to do it because
think any team out of the West that you look at that's going to face the Capitals if they make it to the Stanley Cup Finals has too much scoring for you to be like, we can outscore the other team. There's too much. You're gonna stop Taves. You're gonna stop Kane. You're gonna stop. I mean, you look at Dallas. I mean, they're probably not a real contender, a super contender like they were, but you're looking at Sagan, Ben, Sharp. You're looking at Parise, Granlund. There's too much. There's just too much for you to be like, yeah, no, our decent goaltender is gonna be just fine. I don't care how
I'm
good
not
Shaq
arguing
plays.
against it. I'm just saying I think it's about time the Caps do it, given
I want
what
them
they've
to
had.
win.
But
I want them to win, but I think for the past 6 years they've gone about it the wrong way. Because I think it's always been, let's get Ovechkin more scoring help. I think it should have been, Ovechkin already scores 40 goals a year. Let's get a goalie.
And you know what's interesting? I don't want to spend 10 minutes ranting about the Flyers because believe me, I could. But I think they have finally figured out that you cannot go out and buy score after score after score after score. You know, for years, what killed that team was they had scoring left and right. Mike Richards, Jeff Carter, Danny Briere. Those were three guys that were perennial 30, 40 goal scorers, but they never had the blue line and the goaltender. Now you look at it and it's like, well, okay, Hextall comes in and Hextall starts to draft guys like Travis Sanheim, Robert Hagg, Felipe Myers, Gostisbehere, Ivan Provorov, and then you go out and you get Mason and you get Neuwirth. Now Mason's probably going to walk because they signed Neuwirth to an extension, and they've paid no attention to Mason unless they want to pay him and pay Neuwirth. But I think the time has come where they need to decide who's going to be the number one and who's going to be the number two. But I think they've taken that page out of what you were saying, where you need to build a blue line and you need to build the goalie, and then you know what? We'll figure out the scoring as we go.
Yeah, I mean, I can't name from the Devils Stanley Cups that I watched. I can't name who scored most of the goals that year. I can't name.
Yeah, and I mean the thing is too, when the Flyers made the Cup in 2010, ultimately lost to Chicago, but when they made it, they had Chris Pronger, who was an enforcer on defense and was the captain of the team on defense, and they got lucky with Michael Leighton, but I mean he still was up and down as a goalie. They caught lightning in a bottle with him for a while, but they had a good blue line, and they also had Jeff Carter, Mike Richards, Danny Briere, guys that could score. Claude Giroux was young and up and come. But the thing is you had the guy on defense with Pronger.
Yeah, and I mean, even the Devils in 2012, you look at, I mean, you still had Marty in net, which is never a bad idea. You still had Andy Green was still young, Bryce Salvador was still young, Marek Zidlicki was still out there, and you had a rookie Adam Larson who has gone on to be one of the top defenders in Edmonton. So I think in any hockey team, you got to look at their defense and their goalie first, then you can worry about if they can score the puck. Because if you can't stop it from getting in the net, you're never going to win a game.
Oh yeah, and it's like when you look at the Flyers, it's the thing is they have so many defensive prospects now that it's like, okay, maybe you could afford to give up one.
You could give up a few to go get. Like I said, Ben Bishop was out there, man. Tampa was willing to part with him.
We have a couple goalie prospects. I'm not super worried with that. If they want to turn it to Neuwirth and look like a Stolarz come in and learn under him, that's fine. But when you look at the shape of the team now, I've seen so many articles and so many people saying that the Flyers need to blow this up. They need to get rid of Claude Giroux. They need to get rid of Voracek, get rid of Wayne Simmons and Braden Shen, and just stockpile picks. I'm going to pump the brakes there for a second, and I'm just going to vent for like a minute. I think with the defensive prospects they have, you could get rid of one or two and get guys like Giroux and Voracek help, because Claude Giroux is never going to be a 30-40 goal scorer. He's a 30-40 assist guy. He's not a guy that can put the team on his back, which kind of, I guess, like negates him being a captain per se, because captains should put the team on their back.
But I mean, look at Zdeno Chara. Zdeno Chara has never scored over 20 goals in his entire career.
Oh,
but
yeah.
he racks up 60 assists, and that's what he does.
And the thing is, what made Claude Giroux one of the best players in the game, which I think he was a couple of years ago, was he had a veteran scorer like Younger on the line with Voracek, and he had other scoring options. So I think and you wrote about it, in your one article, like the Flyers need to figure out who they are. They need to part with one or two of their young defensemen, and they need to start surrounding guys like Giroux, Voracek, and Simmons with more veteran scoring options.
That might be true, and I think you're absolutely right. They need to start thinking about getting rid of some of those prospects that they just are saying they have. But you're also coming up on a year where you can lose a lot of guys. A lot. So you're going to talk about, let's bring in more. That's just more protection you're taking away. So I think the Flyers also have to decide, are we going to protect our perennial players, or are we going to protect our future? And I think it's a decision you have to make, because anybody who's played, I think it's more than 20 games in a Flyers uniform, is eligible for the expansion draft. So
yeah, it's going to be interesting because look, they need to decide. This is going on for far too long, where they creep into the playoffs in the last week and then they just get bounced out in the first or second round. They need to figure out if they want to compete for the cup. I would argue that you need to give these young guys a chance while maybe being able to keep, 2, 3, 4 of your savvy veterans and just building around that. If they want to sit in mediocrity, fine. Then you know what? Let the young guys go, and then we'll just protect all the veterans. And, so be it. We'll just be an 8 seed, a 9, 10, 11, and we'll just sit there, and that's totally fine. But they need to come to a decision, I think, like you said, now, where you're going to let the young guys come up, and you're going to have to let some veterans go, but you're giving those young guys the opportunity.
I would say let Couturier, let Voracek, let
Shen,
let them all walk. Let them all walk.
There's a friend of ours in Finnegan 3A right now whose heart just shattered because you said Sean Couturier should walk.
If you're gonna talk to me and say I need to protect Neuwirth, I need to protect Gus, I need to protect Ghost, I need to protect Provorov, I need to protect Hag when he comes up, I need to protect Simmons, I need to protect Giroux, I got no room for Sean Couturier who's gonna play on my third line. Sorry, I'm being honest. I got no room.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean,
it's like
it's tough.
That's like if I was Arizona and I was like, hey, listen, all you guys gotta go. I'm protecting Luke Shen. Why?
Oh,
Shen.
But I don't want to hear about that because they gave up my favorite Flyer at the time for Luke Shen, and I'm still not over it.
I was just about to say, you want to know who is getting protected in this expansion draft?
James Van Riemsdyk.
James Van Riemsdyk.
James Van Riemsdyk. Stop.
Hey, there's been talk.
I still have that. I still have that jersey somewhere.
Going to Vegas too because they have Matthews and they have Kadri. So
I still have that jersey buried somewhere. It's painful.
Hey, listen. It's
so you're telling me, Luke Shen and James Van Riemsdyk
might be playing on this.
Could be on the same team.
Not only will that happen, it might be James Van Riemsdyk, Wayne Simmons, and Luke Shen all on the ice at the exact same time, playing for
Ladies
the same
and gentlemen,
team.
I have rescinded my fanhood of the Philadelphia Flyers. I am now a fan of the Buffalo Sabres.
Hey man, it's a good time.
You're gonna lose. You're losing Brian Giunta this year, and Evander Kane's probably going to Vegas. So.
Hey man, now my expectations are crap.
We're just rock bottom.
That's the best way to do it.
I mean, I've had rock bottom expectations for the past 4 years, and that hasn't helped me at all. So I think Lewis got lucky this year.
It's the best way to do it, man. I'm upset that the Mets are supposed to be good because I wish I could have that mentality.
Don't say that. Just Steve Matz sucks. Just keep repeating that to yourself in your head. And
you know what's going to happen? I wanted to say I think Lewis will get his hopes up. And then come September, there's going to be an 11-game lead, and there's going to be a certain team just creeping up the standings.
Right.
Not Philly.
On the last day, Brett Myers is going to come out of retirement and pitch a perfect 8 innings, and then
Nope. Yeah. You know what? I really feel Miami's going to overtake the Mets this year. Did you see Christian Yelich in the WBC? Did you see Christian Yelich?
Go Marlins.
I think it's their time. They're doing it for Jose.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey, D. Gordon still cries. Just like Wilmer.
Wilmer was an exception.
I still
think... You know who else cried? J.C. Romero last night.
Good.
Yeah, because he's finally going to retire.
Good. I think T.J. Rivera shed a tear and then he remembered, oh, wait, I'm white. Why was I on this team to start with?
He shed a tear and then he looked over and saw Christian Yelich and Giancarlo Stanton. He's like, no, I'm going to be beating them all year.
Yeah, okay.
And then Seth Lugo.
Yeah, Seth Lugo might be on the team. TJ Rivera is not playing for the Mets this year.
TJ Rivera will make the team.
Who is he going to play?
Bench guy.
Where are you putting him?
He plays the infield.
And then there's the Flyers, who are going to be the only team in NHL history to have a 10-game win streak and not make the playoffs.
No, there's definitely been another team.
I think that, if I remember right,
the Atlanta Thrashers had to screw it up at least once.
Who?
The Atlanta Thrashers had to screw it up at least once.
Who? They don't exist anymore.
Well, I mean, they're now
They're
the
all-
The Atlanta
Jets.
Kovalchuks?
Yeah. They were the Kovalchuks and Canes. Don't forget that Evander Kane started his career there.
That's true. That's true.
Manchester's Latans?
No more Manchester Zlatans. So we're end off the podcast with March Madness. It's obviously been a huge tournament with a lot of upsets and a lot of people going home upset.
Emphasis on mad.
So
Let me
yeah,
put it this way. About this time last year, there was a young boy whose name I do not know who got very excited for a movie called Batman vs. Superman. And he had read many rumors about how they were going to do it and how they were going to possibly end it, bringing in the Justice League. That young man was hurt as he left the movie theater because certain things did not make sense. Certain things did not come to fruition that he had hoped for. A year later, I feel that same sadness and emptiness looking at my March Madness bracket.
I mean,
I'm going to let you in on a little secret here. Stop looking up rumors.
yeah, no, stop doing it. You had to understand, I went into, like Lewis had with the Rangers, I went into that movie with such low expectations that walking out, I couldn't even be mad because I was just laughing that I knew it. So, like, I couldn't really be mad.
I just, when it comes to Batman and when it comes to members of the Justice League, I get my hopes up.
No, what you do
And,
is
and that's just,
you watch that
that's
movie,
just-
you get upset, you cry a little bit, and you're like, well, I couldn't expect any more from Zack Snyder because he's awful. You walk
Well, that I
straight
agree
to your
with.
computer, you go to CW.com, and you watch real superheroes, and then you just enjoy yourself for the next 4 to 5 hours.
okay,
You want
so
to know what doesn't let you down?
A doubles package.
The Avengers.
No, go away.
Did you see the second Avengers movie? It lets you down
Oh,
hard.
I've seen them all. I've seen them all.
It's still better than Batman Superman.
That's
I will
true.
say,
that is a good
I'm
point.
going to I'll put this on the record now. I have been one of the biggest Batman fans my entire life, and I have always said that The Dark Knight was the greatest superhero ever made, movie ever made. I have moved that to second, with Logan being number 1 on my list.
Logan was
Which,
fantastic.
Logan was
which is what comic brand?
Fox.
I believe that's
Fox. It's Fox. Fox
You know what,
Studio.
Lewis? It's
21st
the
Century
comic book.
Fox.
It's the comic book brand that shall not be named, much like a certain wrestling brand that shall not be named.
Mhm.
Oh, wait a minute. I don't hate Marvel. I like Spider-Man, Daredevil, and
Yeah. Marvel is fantastic. It's just
Marvel
I hate,
makes good movies.
Yeah.
But I just need DC movies to be good, and that's where I get
just
my
hate
hopes
all
up.
of Marvel's TV shows because they're
Oh
awful.
yeah. But Daredevil's good.
Daredevil's fine, but Iron
So
Fist
what-
makes me want to cry.
So what have we learned today? Stop getting our hopes up for everything.
Yeah.
Hey,
The moral
when
of
we,
this story.
when we do this podcast in August and it's right around football season, that logic is going to be thrown out the window.
I'm not doing it those weeks. Not until week 4 rolls around. The Eagles are 0-4, and he's ready to jump off the Ben Franklin Bridge.
Oh no, we're not doing
Yeah,
that. We're not-
Carson's throwing a Jeffrey in training camp. It's the greatest thing ever.
The Eagles,
We're going all the way.
third preseason game of the year, the Eagles are going to play like the Titans, and Wentz is going to throw for 450 yards and like 6 touchdowns, and everybody's going to deem it Super Bowl 52 champs, and then they're going to go like 0-5.
I don't wish injury on any player.
Yes,
Oh,
you do.
I hope.
I absolutely do.
I don't. It's just not human. I really sincerely hope that like week 1 of OTAs, Alshon Jeffrey tears his ACL and is out for the year. Just
Where's
to
wood?
squash
I'm knocking on
any
wood.
hope. No, stop knocking on wood.
I hope Carson
I hope it
Wentz
happens.
looks like a cartoon character after they've been hit by a train after one play.
This is the problem I got myself into.
I want
in this
Bone
podcast with
Spurs.
2 Giants fans.
I want Bone Spurs shooting out of his every which direction. Because I just want to like know that when it comes down to it, it's Chase Daniel time.
He's
and
gone.
that's-
It's false. It's
It's
false.
good.
Folsey.
Oh god. Okay, so I need 2 trains to hit 2 different people at once. And just really
I
bury
don't
the
think we
Eagles.
have our emergency quarterback set yet.
Well, good. Then Trey Burton is gonna play quarterback.
It would be Trey Burton, I think, because he played
Yeah.
quarterback in college.
I think
Anyway,
it's
the
either,
mic-
it's either him or John Dornbos.
Anyway, back to March Madness.
But
So-
it's basically just to end the point that I was making before we went on a rant. Yeah, my bracket is sad.
My bracket isn't actually that bad. I'm doing pretty well. How you doing, Lewis? How's it going over there? And Duke's gonna take it all the way this year.
Plead-
Gonzaga
plead-
sucks
plead-
territory.
Plead the fifth.
The one year
Excuse
I
me,
don't.
on this podcast, the
You can't.
fifth has been
There are
thrown
no.
away.
There are no
Have-
rights in this podcast. You have none.
Okay. All right, I'll give you the true number 1 seed that's going to go all the way.
Gonzaga.
Winning it all this year.
Gonzaga.
Number
Gonzaga.
1 seed.
Gonzaga.
A-doubles package.
Ryan Gutschall and Gonzaga. No,
Ladies and gentlemen, the legitimacy of this podcast has been thrown out the window.
There never was legitimate, let's
A-doubles
be honest.
package.
So, I mean, let's talk right off the bat. Anything shock you guys besides Wisconsin taking out Villanova and then University of South Carolina taking out Duke? I think those are the obvious ones, but...
The most surprising thing for me is that we're now 2 rounds in, and on game days, at least, I haven't heard anything from LeVar Ball.
That's true.
Oh.
LeVar Ball has not said a comment when his son is on the court, which is impressive.
I don't even want to talk about LeVar Ball because he just...
Because you're going to have 10 years of dealing with him when he's a Sixer.
Yeah.
No, he's not going to be a Sixer. If he's a Sixer, I'm done.
It's either him or
He's a
De'Aaron
Sixer.
Fox. Who do you want?
Malik Monk, thank you.
No, Malik Monk isn't that good.
Yes, he is. I want Malik Monk and Markelle Fultz. Trust the process.
You're not
You're
getting
gonna
Markelle
get-
Fultz.
I hope you draft.
You're
Tyler
not getting
Trimble.
Markelle Fultz.
I know I'm not getting Markelle Fultz.
Markelle Fultz is going to Charlotte. Like, let's just
Markelle Fultz
Gonzaga's
is
gonna
going.
win.
get.
Mar-
I think
Markelle
Gonzaga's
Fultz is
gonna go.
going somewhere, but
No,
Actually, I wouldn't be surprised if UCLA wins this whole thing because they just look unstoppable right now.
Here's my problem with UCLA, and I'll say this.
LeVar Ball.
Well, not only that, I just think that when you have these teams full of people who are prospects and one-and-doners like Kentucky, and stuff like that, when you reach this round, you're not thinking about, especially now that playoffs are starting to be sectioned off for basketball soon. Teams are already starting to get counted out. You're not thinking about this tournament anymore. You're done. This is it for you. Like, Ball knows he's not going to college again. You know what I mean? De'Aaron Fox knows he's not coming back to college. So I think that there's a serious concern of, are these guys really going to play their hardest? Because now you're thinking about, do I get hurt before my draft? Because this is it for them. There is no other way. The Ball is going to the NBA after this is over. Does he really care how UCLA does as it pertains to whether or not he's the first-round draft pick?
Just watching
He's first overall
basketball, just watching basketball as much as I do, I think he's going to go off because it would solidify him as the number 1 overall pick. And there's money in that, there's endorsements in that, there's recognition with that. And I'm sure his father is up his butt about the number 1 pick because it could wind up being the Lakers.
But is it really though? Because let's think about the former number 1 overall picks from the past few years. How many of them have won?
Well, I mean, granted,
None,
I think that's
right?
Well, I think the Wolves. Well, he was a number 1 pick with the Cavs, but I think
Let's
the
think back.
Wolves are going to be a good team soon.
No, I'm not talking about who's going to be a good NBA player. There's obviously good NBA players who come out of the tournament. What I'm saying is Shabazz Napier the number 1 pick? No. And you can testify to this. Jahlil Okafor? No.
Oh God, no.
And you're talking about, Archie Diacono? Where's he? So
He's a first-round pick. You better believe that.
not in your fantasy draft, Birch.
Is there worth in becoming the number 1 overall pick and winning the title? Because I think that players who have won titles in the past few years, at least, have not been drafted very high because they're not superstars. They're team players.
I have from 2010 on, and you guys will have to refresh my memory on some of these because I'm drawing a blank. 2010 was John Wall. Did Kentucky win in 2010?
No, because they
No.
suspended Boogie.
Yeah.
Okay, 2011 Kyrie Irving, Duke.
No, they got beat by Lehigh.
Okay, 2012 Anthony Davis, Kentucky.
Yes.
Yeah, they won.
2013, this is a little embarrassing. Anthony Bennett, UNLV.
Yeah, no, none.
2014 Wiggins, Kansas.
No, they didn't
No.
win. That was the year that Shabazz won.
Yeah, 2015 K.A. Towns, Kentucky.
Duke won that year. That's Jahlil Okafor's year.
Yeah, and then 2016, obviously Ben Simmons. LSU didn't
Villanova.
even make the tournament.
Yeah,
They didn't
So-
even make the tournament.
You talk about the guys that win tournaments for those guys, going back to all those teams, besides Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis is, like, I guess, the person you don't talk about on that team. But I would even watch that game again. Is he the reason he won that team? Where they won that game.
Oh, he was. He had a triple blocks.
Yeah, so like you're talking, he's the outlier. But let's look at it. Look at the championship teams from those years. Where did their top player go? I mean, let's talk about Duke. I'll take that for example because that's the one that's freshest in my memory. Justice Winslow was the best player in that tournament. Justice Winslow and Tyus Jones.
Well,
Tyus Jones is now warming the pine in Minnesota, and Winslow is playing because Miami has nobody.
I mean, to your point, Alec, I see what you're saying, but I think it depends. I mean, I think you have these big prospects like a Simmons that just went to LSU to showcase his game.
Yeah.
He knew making a tournament was a stretch at LSU, and they didn't. And I think certain players, winning the whole thing isn't going to make or break their stock. But I think in a year such as this, where you have Markelle Fultz, Dennis Smith, De'Aaron Fox, Lonzo, Josh Jackson, Jason Tatum, Giles.
Yeah, Giles and Tatum.
You have so many guys, depending on who gets one and what they need, that could go one.
That's true. So this is a much deeper class than we've ever had before.
Yeah, and deeper with top talent. Last year, it was Ingram or Simmons. Whoever Philly went, the Lakers were going the other one, and then who knew after that?
That's two drafts in a row where you and LA have picked one or the other. Because you went one or the other with quarterbacks in football, and then you're just like, hey, so we did this with quarterbacks. Who do you want as your top point scorer?
Actually, you know what? You bringing that up, I just realized that now. Like the NBA draft was Sixers, Lakers, and then the NFL draft was LA Rams and then the Eagles.
Eagles Rams.
So it was like one or the other, and then looking at the NFL draft,
there was a backroom deal where they were just like, hey, listen, you get Jared Goff, we'll take Ben Simmons. Neither of them will play or play well.
Hey, but it's like the funny thing is I kind of lost my train of thought, but that's okay. Maybe it'll come back to me if I ramble on and not make sense. But here we go. Looking at it in 2016 NBA draft, it was Ingram and Simmons, and then it was anybody's guess. In the NFL draft, it was Goff and Wentz, and there was really not that there was a talent drop off, but there was a talent drop off with the quarterbacks.
Yeah. So, but you're talking about such a deep draft class, like you said, Lewis. Does it really matter? Does it truly matter this year? Does the tournament finally matter to prospects and not just college players?
I think it could. I think you look. Markelle Fultz didn't even make the tournament with Washington.
Right, so he's not involved, but
Tatum and Giles were out in the second round.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like, if you look at that game, you have two guys who are suspected to go top 10. Let's be honest.
Maybe even top 6 or 7, top 5.
But the person that came up the biggest for Duke to keep them in that game was the person that I hate on that team the most.
Dick Grayson.
Yeah, so where was Giles tried the last 33 seconds to pop some threes and get them back in the game, but where was he the rest of that game is my thing. You know what I mean? I feel like there's such a stigma in this tournament against the Kevin Ware situation of please don't get hurt, where people just don't try because they know they already have my stats and they already kind of know where they're taking me.
Well, yeah, but I think if you look at it, especially with the point guards, when you throw in the forwards, it makes it a little more complicated because then you're talking about needs and stuff like that.
But when you look at point guards,
but you got 4 guards in this, 4 or 5 guards at the top of this draft. When you look at Monk, Ball, Fox, Smith, and Fultz.
Yeah, but you can't count
Fultz. Yeah, Fultz didn't make the tournament. Neither did Smith.
So there's 3 guys.
Monk plays at Kentucky.
So does
Fox. Plays at. So does Fox.
Yeah, they're both there.
Yeah, and then you have Lonzo.
So I think out of those 3 guys, Lonzo's got the best shot. I'll be honest. I agree with you guys now that Lonzo's got the best chance.
And Kentucky's going to carry a pedigree of we are able to bring in all the top players in the country because it's the place to go one and done.
Yeah.
And, they're going to be able to, have those guys go high in the draft because of it.
I think you're also looking at a situation of, not to cut you off, but Fox and Monk are probably going to try to outplay each other, which isn't good.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm worried about Lonzo past this round, if he gets past it, only because he beat Kentucky.
Right,
He
that's
beat
true.
Monk, he beat Fox.
He beats all his other competition. Why does he care anymore?
He beats all of his exactly. That's when I get worried about UCLA. Is that is he gonna? He beat them, but at that point you beat them. You beat Malik Monk and De'Aaron Fox. You're in the Elite Eight. At that point, you may as well just win the whole thing.
Yeah, I guess you could, but I also feel like that's, if you're gonna talk about that situation of where he beats his rivals in the draft and he doesn't care anymore, I think it's a place for Josh Jackson, because I think he's the kind of the guy that's been glossed over the most. Guy to this draft class.
Yeah, well, I think he was lost because didn't he get suspended prior to the tournament or something?
Yes, he did. Yeah.
And there were some issues with like the character, but this was the guy, like, now that you bring up Josh Jackson, this was a guy back in like July, August who Sixers fans, wanted. We wanted a tank for Josh Jackson. He was a perennial first overall, second overall pick, and now he's just kind of been shuffled away with, De'Aaron Fox, Monk, Ball.
But I think this is the chance that he sits there and goes, no, I'm still goddamn Josh Jackson. And he comes out there and he plays well and wins this thing, and that puts his draft stock up.
He had a phenomenal game the other night, and
he beat the crap out of Michigan State.
And it's like when you watch it, then you remember, okay, well, in July and August, this is why he was an aforementioned first overall, second overall pick.
Yes, I mean, we'll go around the around here. I still got Gonzaga. Birch, you still vote anything else on Gonzaga?
I'm going Gonzaga, but I wouldn't be surprised with UCLA.
Lewis, who do you got still? It's just UCLA? Still believing in the balls?
Yep, UCLA.
All right, so that kind of wraps this one up. Thank you guys for listening to the Feed Me Sports podcast, our third episode. We're getting more regular with it. It's probably going to screw up a few more times, though, because we're not that great at this. Thank you guys for listening.
The shining light is that if you look at it in a Star Wars sense, we're away from the prequels now. So we can go to 4, 5, and 6 and that'll be great.
No, we've just made our first 3. Now we have to hit the prequels. The next 3 are going to suck. They're going to suck. And then we have one more.
Well, I was looking at it from episode 1, 2, and 3. Now we go to 4, 5, and 6.
We're making them in order. This is going to get real. It's going to get real ugly from here on out, everybody.
Well, yeah, the NFL draft is coming up, and I'm going to get my hopes up again, like we said.
Oh, yeah. So thank you guys for listening. If you have liked what you heard, please follow us on our website. We write articles up there all the time. It's the feedmesports.wordpress.com. You can read about our articles. I write about soccer and hockey. And then Birch and Lewis should be coming out with his mock draft soon enough.
Yes, I'm up to pick 17.
If you were looking for
Trust the process.
If you read Birch's mock draft and said, "Holy crap, this guy's on drugs," and you want a tamer version of the same mock draft, Lewis Schaefer's will be coming up soon. So
well, it was actually Lewis's younger brother who inspired me to throw in some more trades and go for a little more of the dramatic.
And that's why we don't listen to Mike Schaefer.
Yeah, don't ever listen.
Don't listen to Mike Schaefer.
I gave it a try. I mean, I'll go away from the norm here with what most people are doing. I'll throw a couple crazy trades in.
That's why we listen to Mike. So, if you like the podcast, please listen to it on our SoundCloud. Download it, subscribe to it, do whatever you need to do to get it. Listen to it. We really appreciate it. Thank you to our 5 people who subscribed already. Love you guys deeply. And then moving on. Well, I've been Alec Roman, the medium hot friend.
Just a second. We have I just got some breaking news from Ian Rappaport as we close up recording this. The Bears have signed a quarterback.
Who is it?
Backup Mike Lennon. Former Dallas Cowboy and Philadelphia Eagle.
Mark Sanchez.
Damn it, I was really hoping for Johnny Manziel.
He's on another team. Well, Manziel might sign with the Saints, I read.
I'll get his jersey.
I would get a gold Johnny Manziel.
Yeah, okay, so there you have it. The ending note is that don't get your hopes up, and also Mark Sanchez is in Chicago.
If Mark Sanchez can get a job, so can you.
So can we.
And also CM Punk is probably coming out of retirement to GTS him.
Seth Rollins, I hope you're excited for Mike Glennon and Mark Sanchez. That being said, thank you guys for listening. This is the Feed Me Sports Podcast. We will see you guys next time.